this podcast has been a long time coming.
Yeah, it's true.
Prudence and I met in China, although we lived like a mile from each other, here in nice and sunny, beautiful Clearwater.
Yeah.
And I have to say that Prue was one of the biggest sellers. Like, you came on, when did you start Amazon?
2014.
Woo! So imagine 2014. That's like a good timing. And so anyway,
Quickly to be passed up by you, by the way.
what's that?
Quickly to be passed up by you.
Yeah, but listen, at the end of the day, I remember someone came to me and was like, "Oh, you're hanging out with your rich friends." And I'm like, "Prudence? Like, of course." But we both started at nothing.
Yeah.
We were nowhere, and like, yes, okay, now we're like, okay, you can say we're rich. Okay, great. But rich compared to who? Anyway, it's fine. Okay, it's all good. So, that was a really long intro to say Prudence, co-founder, Beauty by Earth, a fantastic, amazing brand, an amazing human being overall. And she also does a bunch of other businesses. But anyway, Prue, great having you.
Thanks.
Yeah. So what I wanted to, I guess, start off with is, people don't know that Amazon doesn't take a lot to start, really. Well, I mean, it's all relative, but you've had multiple businesses where you had to start at a lot. Like, F45, you need like 300 grand to start, no?
Yeah.
I know you didn't do F45, and then
No, I didn't.
this other one, but you know about it, right?
Yeah.
And another business, for example, your spa, you have a health spa.
Mm-hmm.
What's the startup cost on something like that?
It was north of 750.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
750 grand. So here's the deal, that you could start that once you have money, you have some success somewhere. But imagine that's your first business. It's impossible.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, what about Amazon? How much did you start Amazon with?
Started Amazon with a $20,000 investment.
Boom!
Which now I would say that would be a tough. This was 9.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Now I would say, I mean, it really depends on what product you do, but I would say like 50 grand minimum nowadays to start.
Okay, good. And so, tell me the story. I want to know. I actually don't know if I know all the details of your starting of this spectacular rock star brand, Beauty by Earth, and what, you just had an idea, like, let's start it, or what? How did everything go down?
Well, my oldest kid, as you know, had health issues at the time. And one of the doctors we were working with was like, you need to check all the ingredients of your cleaning supplies, is what she told me. So then I was like, oh, cleaning supplies, I may as well check what's in the shower as well. Checked what was in the shower. Brands that I had grown up thinking were natural because they were expensive. I used to think expensive meant it was good,
Yes.
So started looking, getting more educated on it.
Could you name one brand that's like big and dirty?
No,
I
don't want to do that. I don't want to do
that.
But basically started looking, and then I started to look into like, okay, well, what brands are in fact actually clean? They were also expensive, just out of price range for people who are, middle America, average household incomes. So I decided, heck, why don't I just create my own brand of products that are truly clean and affordable, that people can use. And it's not like a birthday present you have to wait for to get a face cream, So this was kind of what kicked it off. I was still working a 9-to-5 job at the time, because when you first start Amazon, it's like you do some initial research, you then place an order, and you're waiting for months for that order to come in. So it's not like there's a lot to do in that time. So I was still working my day job. I just had my second kid. So I had a baby and a 2-year-old that had a very bad medical condition at the time. And so I was very distracted at my 9-to-5 job anyway. And eventually I just said, you know what? It's not fair to you guys that I work here anymore. I got to go, And
that was after Amazon already had taken off?
Nope. It hadn't taken off. My husband was willing to just live a little more frugally for a few minutes while I did get it off. But I had no other thought in my mind that it wasn't going to go.
Right.
I was like all in, quit my job. Back then, $20,000 investment was a lot of money to me. It was cash money that, I'd probably saved up over a year or 2 years, And so I was like, there's no other way except to make it.
Yep.
So.
And at that time, then Lee, your husband, was working at the California Highway Patrol, no?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
he was an officer.
He's a cop. Police.
Yeah.
Yeah, supporting the family.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we did, and I did everything. I was the sole employee at the time. So that's how we got started.
And what was your first product, or how did you? Yeah.
Well, I hadn't yet taken a course on how to sell on Amazon, which
Okay.
I should have done first before I spent $20,000 on organic.
Yeah, that's pretty ballsy.
Yeah.
20 grand, like without even a course. Did you? How did you even know Amazon selling was a thing?
I had a few friends selling, and then at the time, the big course that we took was Amazing Selling Machine. They only released the course every 6 months. So I was desperately waiting for the course to come out. In the meantime, I had a friend who had taken it. So I was like, what do I do next? What do I do next? What do I do next? And she wasn't, she was busy growing her own business, so she didn't have a lot of time to properly coach me. And she was also very new, had only been selling for 6 months. So it's not like she knew the recipe yet either. So some poor, like, how do you find a product? Probably that explanation took her about 2 minutes. And then I just started scouring Amazon and found organic argan oil. What I didn't know is that it was a very expensive product to start with. It, you know, we sourced it in the U.S. We were going through, I don't know how many middlemen, because I didn't really know how to source a product either. It was a good product. It was cohesive with the brand that didn't exist at the time. But it was so competitive. There were already so many people dominating this space that little old me who knew nothing, it was just a bad space for me to go into. But I somehow made it work, and we've killed it off since then. But
right. Okay. So when you started, let's say that, you're saying you hit that 20 grand to start. Did you just pick that 20 grand like out of a hat, or like that argan oil, the first order was 20 grand, or how was
Yeah, the first order was 20 grand.
And was that the minimum as well?
Yeah.
Jeez, that's intense.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It was like, I want to say, well, that was with like shipping and whatever. Yeah, basic stuff. But each unit cost me north of $4. So it was a high cost. And it was a race to the bottom because everyone was trying to sell it cheaper than the next guy.
So was that like 5,000 units, $4 each? That's how you got 20 grand? Or?
I don't think I might have done 5,000 units, but I want to say I did a little less than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the rest would be
But it was like bottles and labels and boxes and all that stuff.
And so, argan oil, you didn't do anything to like differentiate specifically?
It was a single ingredient product.
Right.
Yeah.
So at that point, you can't really do much.
Yeah, but what was funny was when I did get to taking the course, what the course taught you was be bigger and better than the last guy, right? Add some value that the last guy is not adding. So we decided to put in the box a lip balm tube.
Ooh, this is
to sort of one up the competitor, right?
Okay.
So we just got some random lip balms that we branded. We didn't say on the listing at the beginning that it came with the free lip balm, because it's kind of random now that I think about it, like argan oil and lip balm. Yeah. Most people use argan oil for their hair, but whatever.
Hey, I know people that did can opener and a spoon, so it's okay.
Yeah. So, but when the reviews for the product started coming in, everyone was talking about the lip balm, not the argan oil. So then it was like, well, maybe we should sell lip balm, which is how we got into selling lip balm. Anyways, it sort of morphed like that. Then we had a brand, if you want to call it that, a very disjointed bunch of products. And at some point we're like, okay, this is making no sense. Let's clean this up,
So, and how did you, obviously with the thing with your son, those issues, is that how you came with the name, or how did the name come about? And
literally very basic. I was like, not a marketing background, I must say. I was searching GoDaddy for what domains were available. That's how I came up with my brand name.
So is it like, okay,
sadly,
beauty?
It wasn't surveyed. It was based on no market research. I was like, what makes a product sound like? And now that I think about it, it's like such a literal brand name that it's kind of, I've definitely questioned it over the years. But
Hey,
at
it's
the
worked, though.
time,
Yeah.
I was like, what says like natural beauty products? And so I was like,
Oh.
beauty by this, beauty from that, like checking domains that were available. And then I thought up Beauty by Earth, and the domain was available. So I was like, great, this sounds good.
Boom.
Let's
and
go.
it's from the earth, right? The earth is natural, obviously, the most
Yeah.
natural thing we have.
Yeah.
So nice. Okay, good. And so then when you have the lip balm, now I know a little bit about the lip balm, but can you go into it when you started selling it by itself? Like, how did that?
Oh, yeah. So originally when we were putting it as a freebie in the box, we were just getting it from like a promotional company, like where they will put anything you want. Like they do like for events, they do like
some place you'll find at the corner store, right? Like in some place, some marketing
Exactly.
company, and they do hats and pens and they do lip balm.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
By the way, I think that's the most crazy thing that ever. Like,
And
these
they're expensive.
Yeah, yeah, but well, yeah, that's right, because they have a bunch of markup.
Yeah.
There's particularly not anything special about some promotional company thing, right? Like you buy pens, you're going to be upcharged, but you get to have your brand on it.
Right.
Now, those guys, of course, did not have that foresight to put it on Amazon.
Right.
But you did.
Yeah, so once we started selling lip balm by itself as an actual product, I was like, okay, we better think about the ingredients of this and like find an actual manufacturer, not a promotional company and all of this. And so that's what we did.
But how did it go? How were the sales? You started selling like 5, 10,
we
100,
crushed it.
50.
At one point, we were outselling Burt's Bees.
Wow.
We were the #1 lip balm seller on Amazon for a while. We're not anymore at all. But we were.
You were beating Burt's Bees.
Yep.
What do you think? Why do you think you got to beat Burt's Bees on Amazon?
These were the Wild West days of Amazon.
yeah, okay.
We did things, you know.
Well, I mean, at this point, 2014 to early 2015, you were allowed to do giveaways. Giveaways were allowed.
Honestly, I was not doing giveaways.
Oh.
I couldn't afford to do giveaways.
Okay, but then what do you mean what was not allowed?
So at the time we were using buyer-seller messaging to message people, because this was before there were any real like rules that were like set in stone. So it's not like we were trying to hide it. We did it right through Amazon,
of course,
you know.
Of course.
But just messaging people who had bought it to say, hey, if you leave a review, we'll send you another one for free. And people were like, sure, I like it. I'll leave a review anyway. And then we sent them more lip balm for free.
So your reviews were just going through the roof.
We got a lot of reviews.
By the way, guys, this at that time, this was allowed.
Right.
There were companies that would give away 10,000 products a month just to be at the top, and it would be worth it for them, right? Like a #1 vitamin C serum or whoever it was at that time. And this was totally allowed by Amazon, and they were totally fine until the FTC came by.
Yeah,
and said you can't do that.
the people just had to state in the review at the time that they were given something free to leave a review.
To leave an unbiased
we weren't
review,
even
right?
giving them anything free because we couldn't afford to like rebate them, or it was just like, hey, please buy a review. And then for us, it was just shipping them the product cost from our own warehouse, not from Amazon, of more lip balm.
Did you put it in an envelope?
Yeah.
That's amazing. So envelope has what, like 50 cents to ship?
Yep. And I literally would like do the envelopes myself and go down to the post office when I lived in LA and just drop off I used like little padded envelopes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just send us a letter.
Yeah, I mean back then things were easy.
But still, look, it still takes some effort to say like, hey, let's think of that strategy. One, it's allowed, and two, if you were shipping it at regular postage, it would be $4 or whatever, $3.50, and it'll be significantly higher in cost.
Yeah, we didn't do a box. We just put lip balm tubes in an envelope.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay. And so then that started off, and how was your revenue? Like, do you remember what you sold in the first year, second year, or third year?
I remember when we first started, I was like telling my business partner, like, oh, when we get to $10,000 a month, we're going to celebrate, you know?
Yeah.
And he was like, heck yeah, we're going to be crushing it. We didn't really understand what the bottom line would be on a 10,000, because everyone who had taken the course, they sort of got badges within the course for like, once you hit X amount of revenue or X amount of revenue. And we got to 10,000. We're like, oh crap, we're still not making any money.
Yeah.
Like,
we're still broke. Like,
so then it was like, when we get to 100,000 a month, we're gonna do something huge, get to 100,000 a month, and we're like, crap, we're still hardly making any money. So the bar kind of like kept getting pushed up. I don't remember how much we did the first year, but I do remember that within the first year, we were paying ourselves by the end of the year, we were paying ourselves, I want to say $2,000 a month each.
Okay. Every month.
Every month,
At the end, after 1 year.
No, by the end of the first year. So in 2014, at some point towards the end of 2014, we were paying ourselves $2,000 a month. Now, we were making more profit than that, but we were rolling the profit into new products.
So what do you think in sales? I mean, that must have been a pretty good amount of sales. What, like maybe 20 grand a month, or probably more than that?
Probably more than that. Probably like 30, 35, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I probably have the screenshots somewhere because I was like, oh my gosh,
Okay, great. And do you remember like your first $1 million year?
No.
No milestones. But you mean
I'm sure when we did, we were like, oh my gosh. But as I said, like the more, like, I feel like the more top line revenue we make, the more it costs us to run that business, the more staff we have. Over the years, cost of goods have gone up. Shipping has ebbed and flowed. Cost of advertising has gone up tremendously over the years. So our margins over the years have become more and more compressed. Amazon raises their fees.
Yep.
All this stuff. So despite making the same amount of money, our profit margins back then were significantly larger.
Right.
I think at one point we had 40% margins, which was insane.
Like EBITDA margin, right? Like tax return kind of margin.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's huge. I remember we talked about that. I remember like 4 years ago, you're like, we did like 40%. I'm like, oh my God, I need to get into beauty. I think at that time I was like at 17 or 20, and I was like,
it's way compressed for sure.
Way less. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. But okay, at the end of the day, talk about margins or less, this and that. Did you ever expect for you to sell as much as you have and have as much success as you've had?
No. But it's been so incremental that it doesn't feel like I went from 0 to 100, if you know what I mean.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So each year is like, okay, that's good.
Each year is like, good, we did better than the last year. Like, we haven't had a down year yet, which is very good.
Yeah.
The amount of effort it takes now to grow is a lot more than it used to be, of course. It takes more staff, more creativeness, thinking outside of the box, really strategizing. But it hasn't been like, oh my gosh, such crazy growth, like all of a sudden that it was like an event, if you know what I mean.
So you were, you're going a little bit on, you're like, oh yeah, for sure I'll be a millionaire this time, and then and then it just happened. You're like, okay.
And I had friends, I feel like even in 2014, who went from 0 to 100,000 a month very fast, and I was like, always wishing, like, I wish I had that kind of thing. I always felt like,
but some of them have died off, no?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Including, and so I won't even mention names. But.
Some of them were just selling generic, unbranded things.
Yes.
And I was like, what are they doing to crush it? They just crushed it. Well, what they did was they had gotten into a space where they had no competitors.
Yes.
And were selling something that people have to buy. Like, I had a friend doing generic filter cartridges for refrigerators. Super random. No brand involved.
Unbranded.
Yeah, just this filter works with these types of refrigerators, kind of thing. And at the time, it was a very non-competitive space. He got in and he crushed. I felt like for us, it was a slow burn. It was like incremental steps each year, incremental growth each year. We never sort of had any year that really like knocked it out of the park. So it was never, but I'll take slow and steady.
Hey, I mean, I would say you're knocking it out of the park every year.
Yeah.
That's another way to look. I mean, it's like you're hitting, maybe you're not hitting 5 home runs in a second, but like you get to base every time, and like you can be a champion.
I can't be mad for sure. It's much better than working a 9-to-5 job as an employee for somebody else, for sure. Would I be making the amount of money that I make now with any job? No.
Probably not.
So
what could you share about your numbers, if anything?
we sell 8 figures a year and
Woo!
have for several years.
That's over $10 million, guys.
Yeah.
$10 million.
Not as big as your numbers.
Yeah. But we're 8 figures too.
But yeah, okay. For now. And then, you know, like we are just working on continuing the incremental growth, taking a little bit more market share, hoping that as people become educated about ingredients and what's in their products, that they move over to more and more clean skincare.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what do you think, and this is an important point where a lot of people came and they would come off and have these big amounts of cash without a brand, without anything behind it, and they would disappear. I know, we have mutual friends, and we know people who have started, and when you start in 2014 and 2015, a lot of people would have success and that have crashed.
Right.
How much do you think that kind of easy success is actually a downfall for somebody?
Now, looking back, that I've got like 9.5 years of seeing people grow and fail, or just grow and exit, or whatever their strategy is. The people who knocked it out of the park and didn't have a brand, they don't really have a saleable asset. So they either sold for, to just get out, and sold for a small multiple because, again, they had nothing of any value, no IP, and then some people, in The Road Less Stupid, Keith Cunningham talks about, like, if you grow too fast, you can really implode. Like, your organization can't keep up with that sort of growth sustained. You have to, like, really put systems and people in places to do stuff like that. So some people I know, when they grew too fast, they imploded. And some people manage it just fine. It's kind of, there's so many factors involved, but for the most part, I personally think that putting a brand behind whatever you do is far smarter. Because you have a saleable asset at that point.
You build
something people know. It's a household name. It's, it's not just, a silicone spatula they bought at the 99-cent store. Yeah.
Our spatulas are more expensive than 99 cents.
Yeah.
So it's all good. So and what do you, how do you build a brand, right? So let's say you have a silicone spatula versus a non-branded versus a branded. Like, what is it? What do you see in terms of brand building? How are you supposed to build a brand?
There needs to be cohesiveness, first of all. Like, someone needs to be able to recognize a brand regardless of what product it is. So things need to look the same or similar. There needs to be consistency in, like, packaging, for example, logo placement, like things like this, so that you get that repetitiveness of seeing it, and then people go, oh, this is X brand, And honestly, like, I think, like, brands like Nike and Adidas and stuff like that, like, just that little check mark, instantly that that's Nike. So things like that, and just putting, like, the actual physical branding of stuff, to me, is the first step. And then, some brands have something unique about the actual shape of the product, or something different about it that, in the kitchen space, maybe it's a little bit more difficult, because what can you do? Like, what if you do something unique to a spatula, you can't do that same unique thing to a milk frother. It's a little bit different, right? But for example, in cosmetics or many other spaces, or even food, everything comes in a stand-up pouch that looks similar. Everything that comes in a box looks similar. And these sorts of things, as long as you're consistent throughout it, I think are what helps generate branding. Also, staying true to whatever it is that your brand is about. For example, for me, it's clean stuff. It's the ingredients.
So what ingredients in that case? Because about that brand, so, like, I've seen in Whole Foods, before, like, hey, we will never put these ingredients in our shelves, and they have a list of like 30 items.
Right.
Like, have you built something similar to that for your own brand? Like, what items would you never use, or, like, do you promote that to people?
Yeah. But it's more about the cleanliness of what we do use. Yeah, we definitely have a list of stuff that we would never use, and it's even stricter than what Whole Foods
So like, what are
requires.
some of those things? Just for someone's like, hey, instead of mentioning the brand name, like, hey, go to your shower, look at whatever shampoo or whatever thing you're using. What is something you would like? Oh, disgusting! I never put in there, or a lip balm or whatever. Just talk to us a little bit about what you've learned throughout the years.
Yeah, dyes, like FD&C color number X, like any sort of dyes like that. Chemical fragrance.
And how do you know what's chemical fragrance on? Because don't they just put fragrance?
Yeah. Well, if it says fragrance, it's fragrance.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's chemically derived.
Okay.
And
parfum. Contains, that says parfum.
That's right. Perfume. It contains a series of lots of other ingredients, normally petroleum derived, that are hormone disruptors and do all kinds of other stuff to your body. Carcinogens, a lot of them. So instead we use like fruit extracts or essential oils. That's what you want to look for. In sunscreens, there's a whole list of chemical sunscreen ingredients like avobenzone, oxybenzone that are toxic and they sink into your skin rather than zinc oxide, which is the only thing that we use for an active ingredient in sunscreens. In like shampoos, soaps, that sort of thing, it's a common one is sulfates. And then another big thing is what preservative system you use. So like what parabens is kind of one that everybody knows that's toxic. Parabens, the whole point of them is to make sure that the product does not grow mold or bacteria, that kind of thing.
What is it? Do you know what it is? Like a paraben? What is that? Are these things?
It's just a group of chemicals that prevent mold and mildew and bacteria from growing. So there are other natural alternatives to that. Parabens are incredibly strong, so they're very effective. And that's what gives things like really long shelf life. And like no matter what else you put in there, often water breeds bacteria. So the minute you put water in a formulation, you need a pretty strong preservative. These are the types of things that we don't use. Some brands are built around one ingredient. Like Josie Moran, for example, is a brand that was built around the argan oil ingredient. So, and same with, there's another brand called Moroccan Oil. It's a hair brand. It all has argan oil in it. So some brands build around
an ingredient.
Yeah, and some brands just build around an outcome or, like a tanning brand or this type of brand. And then some are just like clean skincare or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so let's say you were starting off Amazon right now again, which I know we always talk about.
Yeah.
New brands and stuff. There's a shiny object. But guys, it's shiny object within Amazon. I don't have very much shiny objects like to go off and do other random stuff but everything Amazon, I have a lot of shiny objects.
Yeah.
But let's say you're starting over right now or tomorrow, right? What would be your strategy to start?
Having a lot more money to start, being willing to spend a lot more. You have to be pretty aggressive from the get-go, and that takes money, right?
And so which parts? Like where, tell me like a spend, like let's be like specific. Like it means your first order that it's like a unique patented product, or you're talking about you're going to do a lot of like you're going to spend $20,000 on photography. Like where is the money going to go?
Yeah. So, we used to start with an initial order maybe was 1,000 units before. Now, if you only had 1,000 units, you guaranteed are going to run out of stock if you're going to be aggressive. So you have to start with larger opening orders, more money. You need to start with really good graphics, images, that sort of thing. Costs a little bit of money. It doesn't have to be a lot. You need good branding. So you need to pay somebody who's really an expert in that to put together a brand book. And then you have
to... Do you have recommendations for brand book, by the way? Let's say someone's like, oh, I want a brand book. Like, they're going to just go on Google, or is there some...
No. You hire a designer who's specifically talented in branding. And once they figure out everything, the fonts, the logo...
Do you have like a recommendation? I mean, like, let's say if someone's like, oh, I want a branding person. Do you have someone that you would recommend? No. Okay.
No, I don't use like Upwork or any of those very often. I have people in-house.
Okay. Okay, fine. So
but I know a lot of people have used Upwork or 99 Designs. Or
99 Designs is pretty good. Okay, fine. So, bigger order. Do a brand book. Invest in designers and pictures and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then like work with influencers. Be willing to aggressively spend on ad spend and understanding what is that cost. You might pay $10 a click.
Do you have any like that?
Yeah.
$10 a click?
Yeah.
That is sick. That's just gross.
Well, because if you want top of search, that's not. I mean, in supplement space, you're looking at $20 a click for top of search. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah. But that's because the idea of that, and again, this is where supplements and let's say hard goods, right, vary a lot. On supplements, if you get someone to buy, I don't know, a cream or like
a consumable product,
a B12 or I don't know, a vitamin C or a face cream, you get that first sale. In theory, that person could buy for the next 5 years from you exclusively.
Right. So you also need to have strategies in place for retention, including on Amazon, where you can't market to the customers. You can somewhat remarket to them, and we do. We use DSP for that. Because with consumable products, DSP makes a little more sense.
Yes.
However, you have to have strategies around really pushing subscribe and save. Give people a good enough offer that they want to subscribe. Have a good enough product that someone wants to subscribe. They want to come back and repeat order from you.
That's right.
So, it takes a lot of thinking outside of the box, and no one's going to teach you all of these things.
That's right.
You have to look and dig and go, okay, what can I do to increase my average order value? What can I do to increase my repeat purchase rate? You have to look at the data and understand where you stand right now and how to improve that. I get close to $200,000 a month in revenue that's just subscribers.
Wow.
That none of it comes from ads, so it's higher margin even though they're getting a subscription discount.
Okay, yes. So and again, back to that difference, for me, if I'm going to sell someone a plate set, they're going to buy it once and that's it. If I spend $10 a click, damn, I better have 100% conversion.
Yeah, so you need to have brochures in your products that tell the people, hey, these are all the other things we sell to try and cross sell.
Yeah. We've been working on something like that.
Yeah.
Like a little open it and have some sticker.
Yeah, I know some big supplement brands that do that. Because again, say you buy a multivitamin and you like it. And you're like, okay, even if you subscribe to that, what if you like it so much, like maybe it's a liquid or a gummy or something and you really like the flavor? Well, you take a whole slew of other vitamins or minerals, so then you go, why don't I try this brand's X? Well, if you don't know it exists, you'll never go try it.
That's right.
But if you get a brochure in the box that says, hey, by the way, we sell all these other supplements.
Is that something you guys do? Do you have a little like catalog?
No, but I know
someone else.
I know.
Crushing it?
Yeah, exactly.
Are you going to put that in your stuff or no? You don't know?
Probably.
Maybe?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few ways you can do it, right? You can call it out in your image stack. You can call it out in your A+ content. Like, hey, these products will be a good companion to the one that you're buying. You can call it out in frequently bought together. You can show it in videos. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can do that. We do it another way. But the product brochure, if your packaging is big enough, which in your case it really is, having something in there that says, if they buy a milk frother, for example, maybe they need a coffee cup.
They do.
Or a frothing cup or a frothing pitcher.
Yeah, we have them.
So you're like, hey, buy this and we'll give you a special discount on it.
But what's your other way then? You send them an email.
No.
ManyChat?
We give them a QR code that has an instructional video of how to use the product, and we just actually print it on the packaging itself.
Okay.
And when they go to that QR code, it gives them a video of me normally explaining how to use that product to get the best results with it. And then after
the video or something.
Yeah, after that you can sort of warm them up to other things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that website or YouTube or what? How do you? Is there a good video format to like?
We take them to Facebook Messenger.
Okay. Yeah. ManyChat.
Yeah.
What is this? That's okay. ManyChat's allowed. There's no.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
We use ManyChat.
It's a good marketing tool.
Yeah, it's nice. Okay, good. So fine. What? I don't know. Okay, what can you say about like masterminds? So because we meet a lot. I mean, I feel like we've, over the years, the amount of things that I've learned from you and the amount of things you learned from me, I think is quite a bit.
Yeah.
And a lot of the success has to do with who you're around. And, like, that that is a huge piece, a big thing that people may not realize. Like, you're not going to learn everything from YouTube. On YouTube, maybe 10% of things exist. And a lot of it is, like, scam. Like, I know a guy who sells over $3 million of a course and doesn't sell on Amazon. I don't know the guy. I know of the guy. Sorry, let me put it that way. And they don't sell on Amazon, but they're going to be on YouTube all day. So you can go on YouTube. You learn from people who are not selling.
Right.
But when we started, we're, like, at a similar place. And as we grow, we're sharing things together, and we go to different groups. So what could you say about how would you be around people and what kind of masterminds you get into? And, like, how do you do that? Because you're phenomenal at this.
Yeah, so first of all, having a network, because you can be very solopreneur minded if you don't have a network, especially if you work from home or work in an office by yourself. I'm not a hackery, computery, let me test these things type of guy. Like, I'm just not. But people in my network are, so I can learn. They test stuff all the time that I wouldn't even know how to write a test like that, you know? So I have always been in a group since I started that is comprised of bigger sellers than me and smaller, of course. And the number one tip that I have for networking is always share. Because the minute you go in and just ask, nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to share anything with you. Bring value first and then ask. And I have a lot of, and I'll tell you a few good stories of, like, I have several friends that are in my network that every time they have a call with me because they want to know something, they have something to give me too. Right? I have two friends, close personal friends of mine, who at one point were big sellers and basically became complacent with learning new stuff and were like, oh, I'm killing it. I know everything there is to know, or I just don't need to know because I'm so successful. Well, things change all the time on Amazon. Every day.
That's right.
So you can't rest on your laurels. You can't be complacent with learning. You can't think you know it all. You have to know nothing and know that there's always so much more to learn. How are you going to learn that? By surrounding yourself with people who are smarter than you. It's not about only bigger sellers either. Like, I can teach you stuff. You're a significantly bigger seller than me, but I may know stuff that you don't know.
You 100% know things that I
right,
don't know.
and vice versa.
Actually, you just taught me something right before here.
Right.
I'd never seen this Product Opportunities Explorer. Amazon releases so much stuff. I can't be in, like, every single nook and cranny of Seller Central. So.
Right, or if you take a break and you're off traveling or whatever you do, which I know you've done recently, you're now out of the game for a little bit.
She's calling me out.
And then you come back into the game and you don't know anymore.
Yeah.
Right? So how do you keep up with those things? You have a network of people who you all chat, you share, and obviously, like, I don't just share with everybody. I share with people that I trust.
Yep.
I share with people who also bring me value, because it has to be, it has to go both ways.
Yep.
I have friends who don't share anything, and people don't like to share with them because they don't share anything.
Right.
And then I have friends who were big sellers that are not big sellers anymore, and their businesses have crashed because they don't connect with people and they think they know it all. And they
don't be that person.
No. Stay connected. Find yourself a group, and meet with people routinely, whether it's over a call, whether it's going to great events. There's lots of great events all around the world that have great content. And just stay connected. Stay in the know of what's happening. Yep. And yes, it costs money to network. It does. Yep. It costs money to go events. Costs money.
Some of them. So, like, for example, actually, never mind. We met at a paid event. So, but let's say you go to an event. Okay, let's say, SellerCon's coming up. Okay, you go to SellerCon. You pay to go there. That's whatever. I don't know, $300 or whatever it is.
Plus,
but then you go. But the hotel, the travel,
and for small sellers, it's a lot of money.
Of course, yeah, $2,000. Hey, a big deal, huge deal. But let's say you pay $2,000 to go. That's paid. But when you meet people there, find people who are on the come up. Right? If someone is ambitious, as ambitious as you are and they're at the same level, you guys will grow together and learn together. I think that's a key point. So yes, you're going to have to pay to get into a group and to go to an event, whatever. There's plenty of events, Prosper, AMZ Innovate, Powwow, I don't know, a bunch of events.
Yeah.
And when you're there and you paid to go once, it does not cost money to get someone's phone number and get into a chat group or a text group or a WhatsApp group or whatever you want to do.
Right.
And like start talking to each other. It could be once a week,
yeah,
once a month.
You can't be an introvert at these events. You literally have to go up and be like, "Hi, I'm Prudence. What's your name?"
Yep.
You never know who that person's going to be.
Yep.
Ever.
That's right.
You cannot judge a book by its cover. I've met some massive sellers who are the most unassuming people.
Yes.
But if you
look at me.
If you don't
look at me. Look at me. I'm extremely unassuming anyway.
So if you don't go up and be like, put yourself out there and just open up and talk to people and be willing to share, like, hey, what struggles are you running into? Offer help first. It's the best way to become friends with people.
Yep, I love it.
And like if you're gonna pay and make the investment to go to an event like that and spend $5,000 or whatever it costs, don't do it and go sit in the back of the room and not talk to anybody.
This is true.
I spend most of the time at events outside of the room, hanging out in the hallways talking to people. Because that's where you'll have the best conversations, meet the best people, because the smart people are also doing the same thing.
It's true. And a big key point on that is, like, for example, at AMZ Innovate that we both spoke at, actually, that event, you could see, like, my talk is on YouTube, for example. It's a great talk. But it will never replace going there.
Right.
Never. Because when you go there, you're going to meet the people who are, okay, in the back or whatever, in the bathroom, I don't know, in a random place.
Right.
Grabbing a sandwich or giving somebody's food, whatever it is. But that's where you meet the people and you talk to them. And like you said, like, hey, what are you struggling with? Hey, could I help you? Oh my gosh, okay, you're selling 20 grand a month. I'm selling 30 grand a month. What are your strategies? Because you both are doing a lot of things right, a lot of things wrong.
Right.
And if you can find out what that person's doing right that you're not doing and what you're doing right that they're not doing, boom, combined, you could both be at 100 or whatever,
right.
you know?
Yeah.
So that's like, everybody is doing, not everybody, but let's say the vast majority of people are doing something right that you may not know about. And so anyway, I'm just saying, like, networking and meeting other people who are on the come up like you is a fantastic way, because neither of us were $1 million sellers when we met. Right. And a lot of our friends weren't either. And a lot of people go up as you go and you learn things. So anyway,
and
stay
honestly,
hungry.
just like what you do get from a live event that you don't get from a YouTube is inspiration. Like, you go and you listen to David Guyam speak at an event. You feel so damn inspired when you walk out of there, and like, crap, it is all a mental roadblock that's getting in my way. It's small think. It's whatever it is, right? I can get over that. Or you see a guy speaking on the stage who's a total introvert, has no experience that you don't have, and he's crushing it. You're like, crap, I can do that too.
That's right.
Like, that sort of stuff you just can't get on YouTube. You need that human interaction and the energy from those people to really light a fire under your butt.
Did you watch Jay Cammy at CellerCon like 6 years ago?
No. The funny thing is, like, people were like, don't you know that guy? I was like, no clue.
I had no idea who he was.
Exactly.
But he went on stage, and I swear, he was like talking about being homeless. I should have him on the show. Actually, that's one of my next guests. He's talking about being homeless. He's coming up there. He's extremely awkward on stage. And I'm like, who the hell is this dude?
Right.
And then you find out he's doing, I don't know how many millions, whatever. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
He's like, show me up. And I'm like, dude, what's the deal? Anyway, me and him and now are very good friends.
Super humble dude.
And like, listen,
unassuming.
Extremely unassuming. And that is true. Like, when I saw him, I'm like, what the hell? I got to sell some more. What's happening?
Yeah.
And so anyway, I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So, Prue, do you have any place for people to see you, find you on social, or do you want anybody to follow you, or do you want anybody to find you, or should you just go to Beauty Bear?
I'm not really a business content person.
Okay.
But you can follow my brand at Beauty by Earth on Instagram, on TikTok, and on Facebook.
Good. And we'll see you there, no? You do some of the videos.
I do occasionally.
Good. So, guys, sometimes you got to step out of there. I mean,
I don't love being the face of the brand, honestly, and it's not originally what I signed up for, but people like it. people want to see your face and like have something to relate to. That's it, like a human person
That's right.
to relate to rather than just a brand
Rather
concept.
Than, rather than
You
Chat
read a lot
GPT.
of brands about pages and it's like we this that and the other thing, and there's no human element. There's no, and you just, there's a lack of, there's a disconnect there. So I go on every so often to just like put my face out there and be like, hey, it's ordinary me over here, like this is who I am, you know. It's funny, I don't like dress up for them. I'm in my house. Like I posted a video this morning. It was like my son making himself a protein drink and stuff. Like
that's beautiful. I hope he was using the Zulai Kitchen milk frother.
Oh, he used the Vitamix blender.
No. Okay, we can get that part. Or not. Anyway, so thanks a lot for coming, Prue.
Yeah.
We can chat anytime.
Yeah.
And guys, this is, while you're developing business, you also need to develop friends, because like Prue and I, we spent a lot of time together. We actually ran yesterday morning.
Speaking of meeting Aaron, we were in, I forget the Langham Hotel in China, in Guangzhou, China. And Aaron was this nerdy looking guy with glasses and a backpack by himself walking through the Langham Hotel. And I came up to you and I was like, who are you? And you're like, my name's Aaron. I didn't even know that you were with our group at all.
Yeah.
And anyways, find out I was just moving here from LA. And you're like, oh, I live right down the street. Anyways, so like, that's why you should meet people and always put yourself out there. Even if you're an introvert and you hate talking to people that you don't know, just be like, you know what? I made this investment to go out and put myself outside of my comfort zone, and I'm just have a goal to meet 20 people or whatever it is.
Nice. I agree. Okay. Yeah. Peace out, everybody.